has this homelessness issue penetrated the campaign? Are we getting serious answers from any candidates? I know none of us up here can make an endorsement. I guess I can make an endorsement, but I don't because they already dislike me. But are we hearing any serious talk about this? Do we expect to hear that during the campaign? And if so, are we getting commitments? What are we hoping to hear from the campaign trail?
They're getting the issue, but I don't think they're really getting the issue. They talk about affordable housing, but they're not getting extremely low-income affordable housing. So I think we're not doing a good enough job on getting them to understand that even extremely low-income is $24,000. That's not our folks. Our folks earn, if we're lucky, $11,000 or $12,000. So I think we need to be doing a better job. So they're not hearing. They're hearing about affordable housing, but they're not hearing about permanent, meaning more than 30 years for extremely low-income people. I think that's on us to do that. I think you can do that by going to our website, endhomelessnessnyc.org, and signing onto the platform and handing it to every candidate, not just the mayor, but the 21 or 23 city council members, because that's the only way it's going to happen, because they're not going to address it because our voice hasn't been loud enough. So I put that on us, and I think that we can do that.
Look, I think United to End Homelessness is doing amazing work. 100 groups that have signed on to this, I think, really amazing platform, which sends, again, I think, a signal that there's a consensus about what we know works, and we want to send that message to the next mayor. As an organizing and as a political matter, we need to be doing much more to get that message to the mayoral candidates. I do think we've heard a lot of, I think Chris is right, a lot of sort of, buzzword PR talk about affordable housing, but very little in the way of concrete plans. I do think, having said that, and again, all of us represent 501c3 organizations, I think some of the leading candidates of one of the parties have actually said some pretty good and substantive things on the issue, and some of the leading candidates of another party have not. And so that's something to keep in mind as we move forward.
Well, assume those are the conservative and green parties.
And some of them, some of the candidates obviously also have real firsthand experience in working around these issues and have sort of grappled with these issues for many years, and that's something I think that's going to be very helpful. But I will say I think all of them recognize that, as we've been saying, they're going to inherit really a real mess. The current mayor inherited a real mess. Let's keep in mind too. A lot of people forget that, and it's like obviously that was also in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. But inherited a real mess in terms of a shelter system that was bursting at the seams. It's a shame that we're kind of heading in that direction again. But on the positive side, we also, as I hope people walk away and remember this, we also have some real positive lessons from the past for the next mayor to take on to tackle this problem. In a real short order, we can make a real difference in reducing homelessness for children and adults in the city.
I completely agree with Patrick and Chris about the fact that we've articulated our positions well as a sector. But Jarrett, your question was, is it penetrating? And I think I would like to exhort all of us to return. What has happened over the last several years is the debate about homelessness in New York City has taken a toxic tone. And there has been a beating, toxic tone to the debate in which political points are the prime thing that people are trying to score. I think we need to move the debate into a much more sophisticated policy debate in which we are discussing evidence-based practices that deliver results. When did homelessness become such a third-rail issue in New York City? And I, for one, believe that part of the reason we're not seeing a lot more public debate and a lot more public commentary and a lot more public attention from the candidates to this issue is that everyone is afraid to touch it at this point because it's toxic. Because anything you say or propose, you're going to have the crap kicked out of you. And so I think we need to turn this into a more intellectual policy discussion about what works and where we should place our investments, and be careful as we go forward to not allow the debate about homelessness to remain toxic in New York City.
Excellent.
Could I just add one thing to that? Because I think George does make a very good point there. I think I would also hope for something we could see from the next mayor and the next mayoral administration, which is let's cease blaming homeless people for the problem of homelessness. Let's stop blaming poor people for the problem of homelessness. Let's stop talking about bad behaviors and bad choices on the part of homeless people. And let's, again, consider the context in which this crisis has worsened. The increasing housing affordability problems in the city, the struggles of a larger and larger population of poor New Yorkers, and the fact that government isn't doing what it should be doing. And I think if you can approach it from that perspective and have the kind of civil debate that George is talking about, I think that we will see some real positive momentum. I think when political leaders try and score points by blaming poor people for poverty and homeless people for homelessness, it poisons the debate.